Hi everyone, you're welcome. There's this common question that I'm always coming across with is why do many marriages fail after wedding? Why do many marriages fail after wedding? Why most marriages, why do they fail? Now, there are a lot of reasons, a lot of things, a lot of reasons that makes marriages fail the way it does today, and why we have young lads, young people, finding it difficult to really commit, to marriage. Now, here are some of my reasons, but I'm just going to be talking about one particular reason today, which is the wrong foundation. The reason why I believe I have observed many marriages, I've observed many relationships. Number one reason that I find that why marriages fail today is that many marriages are built on the wrong foundation. They have the wrong foundations. What foundation is your marriage built? That has the major role to play in the success of your marriage. The foundation that your marriage is built upon will determine the success of it. Believe me. Question is your marriage built on human wisdom? Or is it built on God's wisdom? Now, with that question, you now want to find out, is my marriage originated from God or originated by man? Marriage is God's plan, God's purpose. Marriage is from God. God is the one that established the constitutions that govern marriage. Everything about marriage was God's plan. Understand it. I'm not saying you should become a religious person on this subject, but I'm telling you what the truth is. Marriage is instituted by God, and until you come to that understanding, you might have tough times in trying to fix things in your marriage. That's number one. So if marriage is originated by God, then its purpose must be planned out by the same God who instituted the marriage. So, question is, on whose foundation is your marriage built? On what foundation is your marriage built? Is it built on just the traditions of men? Is your marriage built on your native traditions? Or is it just built on what people said that marriage is all about? Or is your marriage built on the principles that comes from God, that governs marriage? So there we go. The foundation of marriages today is where the problem is. The question is, what foundation is your marriage built upon? Now, listen to me. If your marriage is built on the wrong foundation, which is the traditions of men and the nativity of a culture, or is built on the wisdom of other people by their experiences, then you might have some issues dealing with working out successfully your marriage. But if your marriage is built on the wisdom and the principles of the originator of the marriage, which is God, then you have a way to succeed in trying to work things out, and by seeking the counsel and the principles that have been put in place for marriage from the beginning. So here's the point. Is your marriage drawing its strength from God, or from the social media, or from celebrities, or from just mere human ideology? Where is your marriage drawing its strength from? That's what you want to think about. Now, consider this. So first of all, if you consider the Bible verse of the foolish and the wise builders, the first phase, he says, there is therefore anyone who hears these words of mine and act upon them is like a wise man who builds his house on the rock. The rain fell, the torrent raged, and the wind blew and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall, because its foundation was on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them or act upon them is like a foolish man who builds his house on the sand. The rain fell, the torrents raged, and the wind blew and beat against that house. And it fell. And great was the collapse of that house. Bible verse. Think about it. Two things involved. Actually four. One is the house. Two is the builder. Three is the foundation. And four, the rain, the flood. So, looking at this question, the builder builds in two types of ground, two types of foundation. One was called soil, sand. The other one was called upon the rock, solid ground. Okay? Now that distinguishes what you're doing. It says the sayings of man, the principles. The question is, what principle are you applying in your marriage? What principle are you applying? What foundation and principle have you built your marriage upon? Is it upon the words that God has made available for marriage, or upon human wisdom that has no grounds? So you need to think about these two things. Principles that God has made available for marriage. He says if you will do them, then you'll be building your marriage upon the rock. But if you have those principles and you do not do them, you will be building your marriage upon sand. So the basic thing here is the principle that is given for the building of the house. Question is, what kind of a house are you building? Your marriage. Your marriage, you're building your marriage. And if you're building your marriage, you want to succeed in it, then what foundation are you laying down to build that house? Upon what foundation are you building your marriage? Jesus said, the sayings of my teachings. Teachings about marriage? Of course. You say, well, Jesus taught about marriage? Of course. Jesus talked about the principle that govern marriage, which is love. Jesus talked about love and talked about dealing with other people, how to relate with other people. He calls it your neighbor. And much more about other principles given to us that has to do with marriages in the New Testament. So there are a lot of them. Okay? But what foundation are you building your marriage on? That's the first thing. So you want to think about the foundation your marriage upon. Are you building your marriage on human wisdom or God's wisdom? In other words, are you building marriage on human ideology, traditions, or you're building your marriage on the principles that God has made available for it? So that is why a lot of people get in trouble in marriage, because one of the reasons is the wrong foundation. They have the wrong foundation set up from the beginning. What foundation are you building your marriage? What foundation? You say, well, there are a lot of Christians out there who believe in God, and then yeah, I understand. I know. Their marriage, a lot of them are having terrible times in their marriage. I agree. Why is that? You didn't listen to my story. Let me explain again. The story says there are foundations. Now there are principles. And the principles are sayings, his teachings. There are those who know the principles that govern marriage from God and never do them. They know, they never practice it. They know Jesus said you should love your enemies. Pray for those who despisefully use you. We have marriages today that most of the time the husband doesn't love the wife anymore, and then he maltreats and mistreats and abuse the wife, right? And then what do we say to them? We say to the woman, leave that home. Leave your marriage. Walk away, right? Why? Because the man is abusive. But Jesus said, if you want to walk out your marriage, you want to really enjoy the benefits, you have to do extra more. You have to bear more to do something. There are principles you must apply. Loving him. What do you mean loving him? Doing the things he wants you to do or he expects you to do. When you feel like it and when you don't feel like it. And that principle is difficult for many people to follow. So you find that a lot of people don't do that. How can I be praying for my husband when he is abusing me? It's hard to pray for someone that you despise, right? There you go. Now that's why a lot of people don't get the result. Because the principle that they are supposed to follow, they are not acting upon it. And guess what? Because they are not acting upon it, they are not getting the result. So they are building their relationship upon sands. They are building their marriage on sand. So they don't get the result. So when challenges come, the house scatters. You see, it's a collapse. So you have marriages today are collapsing. Why? Because principles that are given for us to do and live by in marriage, people are not following it. So there are those who are following it. They may not be perfect. They are not doing everything in total, but they are trying their best to ensure that those principles are marked out in their lives. And they are sustaining their marriage. They are doing well in their marriage. It's working out for them. But it has nothing to do with one person. It's about both parties making up their mind that they're going to build, that you are going to build your marriage on the rock. You choose to do that. That is your responsibility. Your responsibility. So what are you going to do? Your foundation matters. So wrong foundation is one of the major reasons that a lot of marriages fail. Thank you guys for watching, and if you are watching us for the first time, hit the like button and the subscribe button. And then also, if you have any question or messages you want to leave for us, the comment section is there, or you can email us anytime, any day. And I believe you're going to be having fun this Xmas period. And also I wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. I'll see you again soon. Bye.